Hello everyone, I'm Wazzup. So a few things before we start. I just moved recently, so the sound quality might be pretty bad or pretty good, I don't know. I spent like an hour trying to make it level, but just let me know how that sounds. Also, I'm kind of nasally because I've had this cold for a month. I've been wanting to make this video about a month ago, but I really couldn't because Avengers Endgame's coming out, and I got this cold, and yeah, anyways. Let's get into this. Toontown Rewritten is about 5 years old now, if you don't count the time it takes for development and for them to advertise it so that people could get excited for it. But Toontown in its prime had about 6,000 people on, believe it or not. Around Storm Cellbot was when they had that peak. And for a while it dipped so low that you barely get 1,000 people on a day, and it kind of discouraged you from doing anything in the game because you needed people to join your group. Right now, it's about 25, 2,600, 27 earlier today, so it's not doing terrible, but it's still not even half of what it once was. Now this isn't bad, I don't think. But considering that it's half or less than half of what it can be, and it's summer too, during their what's it called? The Crash Cashbot, the Crash Cashbot event. It's like a tongue twister, and most of it is because people that have gotten to where they want to get have quit, or just don't play the game anymore. Maybe play it once a month just to see what things are like, and then they don't play again. In fact, I've had a lot of friends that have completely quit or rarely ever come on. And how can you blame them? Once you're max, what do? Make a new tune? Yeah, you can, but I mean, that only goes so far. So what are some ways that they can fix this? There's a lot of stuff and some things that people have been saying, but I've been thinking about these few points for so long, and I think it would be much better than a lot of other ideas, I guess. So, something I've noticed is that they're spending, well, at least from an outside perspective, it seems that they're spending most of their time on one-time events. And I made a video on this recently, but I feel like I didn't do as good a job as I think I could have. I covered why we're never going to get anything new from TTR, and while some of that is true, we just got the silly meter, we just got Crash Cashbot, so they're doing their best to prove me wrong, and I actually really appreciate that, because that was kind of the point to that video. If they realize that people are saying that there's nothing ever going to come out and it's all the same, they're going to do their best to add more. I'm not saying I'm the reason, because they probably don't even know who I am. But I think they hate me. I'm not sure. But this silly meter was awesome. I feel like it added a lot. And just for being something pretty trivial, I mean, you get double jelly beans, double experience for something. Tickets, the most popular one seems to be fishing, or at least it was the first time. That one was huge. And that's great. I think that was a good update. Solid overall. Gives you something to look forward to. Maybe even log on if you need to get fish, or, level your tune-up. I think, I like that. I like that idea. And it just seems like they're focusing on one-time events, though. This Crash Cashbot, I think, is an awesome update. I absolutely love it. I love, even though I haven't really done much of it because I had to move, I love getting a new SOS card. I love having a new redesign of the entire Cashbot HQ. I love all of it. I think it was great. But the thing about it is, if it's anything like Storm Cellbot, it's a one-time event. So they spent, I don't even know how long it's been in the works. I think it's been close to a year. Close to a year in the works for 1 month of profit, I guess. I feel like that there's a better use of, they could use their time more wisely, I feel. And one method to remedy this could be to make Storm Cellbot and or Storm Cashbot once a year. So that would give us 2 to 4 months of events. There's Toonfest, Storm Cellbot, Storm Cashbot. Maybe if they made one for Law and Boss, like a Lashed Lava or a Bombard Boss Bot. Those are pretty stupid names, but that would be pretty cool. Even though I don't know how I feel about how they would change that. But this gives many people a reason to play. If you have an event that you can bring your low tunes to, it can add a lot more for it. It gives you a reason to play the game. So, it wouldn't require much either. All they'd have to do is apply the update by moving the phase files and re-uploading the launcher or whatever, and then a few maintenance patches here or there because they never really have a clean transition. And I don't know, I think that could go a long way. Just adding stuff to play, look forward to throughout the year. More than just Toonfest, because if I'm going to be honest here, I don't really know any people that love Toonfest. Like, it's alright, but I'll get more into that later. We've seen them and a lot of people bring up ideas like a new Toon HQ. Or not Toon HQ, oh my gosh. COG headquarters. There's been ideas for field offices to spring up throughout Toontown and get the 2-star SOS cards. I think that's pretty solid, but I think there could be more done to the game that would make it even better than that. But what I like about those is that a new COG HQ and field offices appearing, that's a permanent change. So it will always add to the game. You'll always have that to do. It's just another thing you can do, which I really like. I like permanent ideas because they stick and stay. And they're always available. So off to my next point is we've seen them recreate BossBot HQ. Used to be pretty small and now it's huge. You have to do a lot of walking. They've added new designs for NPCs. They added like Lord Loud and Clear or whatever. They've added places for new toon tasks. They've added cutscenes to boss fights and dialogue to it, like in the CEO. So we know that they're capable of doing this. They're capable of creating, which is very important. However, the only thing we haven't really seen from them is battle mechanics. And this is the most crucial part to any of this. They've altered the VP and the CFO for their respective events by making it a lot weaker and easier for 40 laugh tunes to just go and do it for Storm Cellbot and Crash Cashbot. So we know that they're capable of changing the boss itself. And this is kind of where I was going with this. We haven't seen new battle areas or really fundamentally change the boss fights. That's why I'm kind of worried. And I don't really believe that we're ever going to get, at least not anytime soon, a new COG HQ. They're going to have to recreate the map. They're going to have to do a lot of things to make it work. And I don't know if that's really doable, as of now at least. And so, this is leading me into my next point really, is that there could be something done to add so much more to this game. And, this is an idea that I haven't really heard too much of, but I'm sure people have thought of this before. In damn near every MMORPG, there have been different modes for flashpoints, which are like the factory, mints, offices, and COG golf courses. There really hasn't been anything like that for bosses. And I think this could be really, really, really awesome. So, you know how there are like 3 versions of mints to choose from? You have the coin, dollar, and bullion mint. There's a harder version for those things that if you need more of whatever, you can get it. There's a short, medium, and long version of the factory. There's 4 offices and 3 golf courses. That's great because it gives you variety. You don't have to do... Shoot, I don't remember how many you need. You don't have to do 12 middle sixes when you could just do 7 back nines. You know, you have a choice there. And choices go a long way. Ooh. So, in order to accomplish this, I think they could do something similar for all these bosses. And the first thing, and the fundamental part for at least Cell and Cash, is when you're making a boarding group, there's a menu that comes up on the side. There should be different arrow icons that let you choose the difficulty. So, what I think that they could do, for the VP at least, is to add an easy version for the lower tunes that can make their own loops. You can be doing a VP at 15 left anyways. There's no minimum requirements except for completing 10 factories, which is why I think there should be an easier version so that the people that go there either have to make a choice. There's an ultimatum. You either level up your tune and go there when you're adequate, or you go in there with weak tunes and you get a low reward, whatever it is. They should also make a harder version for those seeking a bit more of a challenge, and like an expert difficulty to make it really hard. And I mean like more challenging than the CEO as it stands right now, which they'd have to do a lot to make the VP actually challenging. Okay. Alright, looks like they added that problem, if that's even really a problem. So, kind of lost my train of thought. Yeah, okay. And to make sure that there's incentive for this all, because you don't want to just do the harder version for the same reward. I don't think that's not really fair. I think they should add incentive. So they could modify the % chance of getting rare cards and unites. Maybe if you do, I guess it sort of goes for the CFO. If you do the harder version, or the hardest version, you have a higher chance of getting a max tune-up and an 80 tune-up, a gag up all, because those are the most useful ones. And it's really what the people go for. And maybe for the lower ones, have a higher chance for level 3s, because you're not doing as much to get the same reward. I don't think that would be as fair. Because if it wasn't like that, then you just farm the low ones, or solo it if it's easy enough. I don't know if it would be, but without any rewards, of course. But, you know. Also, you know, I think they could add the field office ones to make 2 stars possible. Or, you know, just not do that and save that for field offices themselves. And another thing they could change is to increase the number you get. Currently, as it stands, you get 2 SOS cards per VP no matter what. That's just the standard now. But what they could do is for the higher ones, you have a higher chance of getting a 5-star, and you also have, you'll get more for it. So maybe you get 3 or 4, depending on how hard they make it. That would make shopping even better, because you could shop for the ones you want and then do it as a group and get 4 instead of 2 and having to shop more. I think that could also be a very nice thing. Now, the problems with the next 2, the CJ and the CEO, is that they have a tier system rather than completely random. And that can make this a little bit more complicated, but I have 2 suggestions for each, and I think either of these would be viable, one more so than the other. So, the CJ currently has 6 tiers. There's tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There are 8 cogs for the lower ones, and I'm pretty sure for 4 and 5, it's 9 cogs, and for tier 6, it's 10 cogs. 10 lawyers to throw evidence. But also in these, there's bonus weight for, I want to say tier 4 through 6, there's bonus weight. Also, I'm going to go ahead and cut to a picture of what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we have the CJ. There are currently 6 tiers, and here we go. They have them highlighted perfectly. So tier 1 has 8 cogs, not a lot of gavels, pretty easy. Tier 2, a little bit more. Tier 3, about the same. Tier 4 and 5 have 9 cogs, and there's a varying number of gavels and evidence they give you. And then a tier 6 is the group average of 70, or level 42 big wig. So those you pretty much have to be maxed as a group to get. So with that in mind, it changes the whole dynamic of the thing. It's not completely random. It's based off of the average. Doesn't determine your exact reward, but it's a big factor in it. So my first suggestion, okay, don't do that, please. My first suggestion is they could add more tiers, maybe making it 8 tiers, 1 for each cog, each column, and that would make it to where you get a tier 8, you're guaranteed to get one of these unless it's full. Tier 7, one of these. Maybe that could make it to where there's a lot of incentive to go for the higher ones. I think there are some pros to this. This would provide more of a challenge for those who crave it, and it would make the reward slightly more predictable, and the boss would become a little bit more interesting because it'd be more challenging for each tier or less challenging for each tier, depending on what the group is overall. But there are some cons to this, and I think the cons honestly outweigh the pros for this. This may be too hard or difficult for those that are just taking a casual run. Even if it's a max tier, for a max tier you're granted bonus weight, and when you're granted bonus weight, it makes the boss really easy. You don't even have to stun, because it gives you a lot, and it's honestly never really challenging. I'd say maybe the tier where you don't get bonus weight and you don't have a lot of people, that can be kind of challenging, probably the most challenging out of all of these. And people that are already maxed going for a tier 8 run wouldn't really get anything. I think it's only 19 summons you have to get in order to be maxed in all of these after you max if you don't use any of them. That's what I did. Just do 78 levels, never use a single summon, 19 after that, which could be done in a day or two if you really want it. You'll be maxed, and it's really not that big a deal. And that's also, I'll just mention a cure for that later on. The alternative I have is to keep the 6 tiers as it is, but if there's 6 tiers, you can add the 3 modes again. And the 3 modes I recommend adding to the standard CJ is an easier one for the 100 laugh tunes that don't quite belong in Lava HQ. Maybe have 2 gags, 3 gags maxed. Maybe make an easier version where you're guaranteed to get like a summon a cog, or maybe even a lesser reward. I don't know what that could be. That's kind of the problem with making there an easy tier. There'd be one more challenging and one very challenging, and the one very challenging could make you get a higher chance of getting a summon, an invasion, a building, whatever. And before I get to how to make this almost perfect, I wanted to mention a few pros and cons. This would grant the group leader the power to choose whether they want a harder or easier time. They could increase the reward if they're seeking them, and it would make the boss a lot more varied for new 100 laugh tunes without max gags, or people like just Jake, who are honestly legends at this. Master 10 cog stunning. They know the ins and out, everything to the CJ. Maybe make the tier for them, or people that go with them. Maybe make the CJ a challenge. And just to add a little bit more I thought I'd mention some inconsistencies with my argument. They should add more rewards for this. I don't remember the exact number. I think it's like, it should be, 96 summons. I think that should be the amount. For all the other bosses, Self, for example, you need to do like 1600. I don't know how many you need to do in order to get all max. For Unites, you have to get, I think it's pretty much endless. I've seen some people with 1,000 of some of these categories. 1,000 is ridiculous, but you'll never be maxed. You'll always have a reason to go back to Cashbot HQ. For Boss Bot, max right now is 255, and I'll get to that later on. I don't think that's too bad to get to 255. Took me a few months on top of... Took me about 7-8 months. But I wasn't even grinding for a long part of it. It just happened over time. Just don't use it and you'll be maxed in no time. Anyways, so there really aren't cons to this system because you have the choice of going harder or easier. And that choice, like I said earlier, goes a long way. So I think that to make up for this, having 96 versus 255 or 1800 or whatever the number is, versus thousands and thousands and thousands of Unites, maybe add different rewards. For this, these buttons are pretty big. I think they can make 3 more buttons and add stuff like 2.0 invasions. Maybe adding field offices once they have them, to spawn a field office for that certain cog level, I guess. Or they could add a separate button like down here. Something like that. Maybe extra long invasions that last like 4 hours. But if they're to do that, they should also add the districts. Because if everyone has 4-hour invasions, I mean, there are mega invasions going on right now, but if everyone has 4-hour invasions, it's going to block all this up, and no one's going to be able to create, or to get certain cogs they need. If they need, like, 202 faces, which I don't know why you would ever pick that, but you might not be able to if everyone's, filling that up. But yeah, I should really add more invasions. I think they should do that now anyways, just straight up do it, because, or maybe make these stackable. If you were to make these stackable and have like 5 bigwig invasions, that would give me a reason to farm CJs for a while at least. I don't really ever see myself maxing that, but I probably would eventually anyways. But yeah, I mean, because once you're done with your summons, there's no reason to ever be in Lobot HQ. Unless you just want to casually do a CJ, or a friend asks you to use a Unite and you just want to refill. Not a Unite, excuse me, summon, cog summon. But yeah, similarly to Lobot HQ, boss can change in similar ways. My first suggestion is to add tiers. Maybe add up to tier 8, just to keep them the same, really. And you'll get 8 fires for your CEO. However, there are some pros to this. It wouldn't really be hard to implement this at all. Just keep adding more cogs for the tables. I feel like having more fires for what you do would make it worth it. But the con for this is that it could become too tedious for max players who already use restock calls for 3 fires, 4 fires, and 5 fires. It could make the boss fight over an hour long, and that's, for some people, that's pretty ridiculous. I don't mind it as much, but I don't know, I wouldn't do them as much, because what would be the point? The other recommendation, though, and I absolutely love this idea, and I would be so excited for this to happen, is to add 3 other variants of the boss, and keep the current 5-tier system. However, for this, I would keep the standard CEO, make one slightly more challenging, have another one more challenging, and one extremely challenging. Considering BossBot, or BossBot HQ, the CEO himself, is as of now at least, the final boss in this entire game. So, I don't want there to be an easier version because it's already the final one. You should be prepared for this by now. If you can't survive in the current CEO conditions, I just think you should focus on the other ones as of now. I mean, the only reason why you should die is if you're being kind of risky in the group and you just want to keep sounding and you're low and you get targeted and unlucky. There really shouldn't be a reason why you die. Maybe if you start lagging, that could suck. I mean, that's not really always controllable. But the reason why I like this idea a bit better is because it gives you the choice and it makes the final boss more of a final boss. So some of the pros, it will let you hunt pink slips. If you want to do an hour-long CEO for 8 pink slips or more, good. I think that's awesome. And it'll provide a challenge. For me, granted this might be a little unfair because I've been doing the CEO for 11 years, minus the 1-year, 2-year gap of TTR. It's not hard. It's really easy. And if you actually try, it's not too bad to go without any tune-up, not get hit. It's not really a problem. If you're trying to maximize your damage, you might get hit a few times, but it's really not bad. And I think this will greatly add to the longevity of this game. If there's a really tough version of the CEO, I would absolutely love it. The cons is it may be too hard, so people might not even bother doing those. There has to be a good enough reward for the type of stuff you're doing as a team. So, some of the factors for this is I think that they could, for the hardest one at least, these are just some ideas I wanted to spit out. They could reduce the amount of time that the CEO takes to reorganize and downsize. If he's, instead of, I think it's 30 minutes, 20 minutes and 30 minutes, they made it like maybe 5 or 10. Maybe make it, or maybe even make it start with downsizing. That would be a pretty decent challenge if you get hit a lot. They could also, since there's up to 13 tables, there's 13 tables in a 5-fire, and there's 5 at each, giving you about 67 cogs, which is pretty, it's decent. You'll definitely have to fight the cogs. That's why people restock in those situations. But in the most challenging one, I think they should fill all the tables up with all level 12 version 2.0s. And I did the math earlier. This would amount to 104 cogs plus the 2 you start off with if you didn't do any feeding at all. That's a lot of cogs. That's more than the amount in a back 9. In fact, it's about 50% more than that. It's a lot. And maybe even make the 3 minutes you have to feed, or maybe make the, 5 minutes you have to feed 3 minutes. I feel like that would, you'd have to fight more cogs because of that. You'd have to be more strategic with it. All of these things, little things that can change. Maybe decrease the amount of damage you do, or increase the amount of health he has for each tier. I think that would be pretty nice. Also, I feel like the higher version of each boss should be locked for lower tunes. You shouldn't be able to do them if you're way too underleveled, because we all know that younger children on this game would do the hardest one and they get eviscerated completely. I don't know. It also add incentive to max your suits, because if you max your suits, you'll be able to do the harder ones and get better rewards as you go. Now, that was kind of a lot. I had a few more changes or additions that they could add. I think they should add true friends. I know there are reasons for not doing it, but they added, why isn't it letting me chat? Am I in the wrong district? I'm probably in the wrong district. Great. I can't show that off, but, you know, with true friends, you can type whatever you want, almost anything. Obviously, they probably wouldn't allow swear words still. And if you clicked Alt and Enter, it would send the message to all true friends in your general area. And I feel like that was so useful for when you don't want to have certain people eavesdropping, or you need to tell something important to your friends, or for more devious purposes, strategize for how to do something that might be detrimental to the team. I don't know. I think that'd be... I don't know. It's kind of a tough issue, but I think it would be nice having that in there. Because you wouldn't always have to use Discord or Skype if even people even use that still. You know, it'd be... I feel like it'd be more direct. It'd immerse me more into the game. They should add more rewards to the silly meter, because right now, as it stands, the best one is the fishing one, if you haven't maxed fishing. And the rest aren't completely useless, but they're not super. I think it'd be cool if they added a golf and racing one. Not this racing kind. I mean like increasing the number of trophies you get. Maybe double, make that one shorter, and you get double the racing things. Because I'd actually do racing. I was planning on doing racing and golf this summer, but I just haven't built up the drive yet to really get it done. But maybe make more of that. And some people may hate me for this, but I also think it's a good idea to add more fish. Now, you wouldn't have to add like 30 ultra rares, but maybe add an amount. Maybe add more frozen fish. Maybe add more devil rays or versions of it. Add some more eels. You know, the ones that have 3 or 4. Add more to that. They don't need any more of these things. But really, I think that would kind of... For the people that have maxed, there's no reason to go fishing after the silly meter thing. Maybe make that one even more worthwhile for the people that... Because that one doesn't... I know it'll win, always, unless there's other better ones. But maybe adding that would make it to where if that one wins, there's actually a reason instead of countering the other ones. Some people might also hate me for this one. Please make Toonfest shorter. A month or 2 months or whatever it is. I think it's too long, because whenever Toonfest comes around, the game gets slower, and people pretty much already have all that's there. It's not really cool anymore. It's just a thing that happens once a year, and people are kind of used to it, I feel like. You know, if you feel differently, please let me know, because I don't know a lot of people that feel that way. They should also add Law and Boss Toon tasks, because right now they only have, I think they only have Cashbot. No. I think they have Cell and Cashbot Toon tasks, but Disney Interactive, the original creators of Toontown, they never got around to adding those Toon tasks, as they added the new bosses. 2006 when they added this, 2008 when they added that. They didn't put anything along with it, and I think that was a mistake. They could have done that. Also, this is kind of my last point of this long video. Gosh, this is going to be a long one, probably like 30 minutes, 30 minutes. They should add more districts, because the way it stands right now, people don't like these districts, I've noticed. I don't mind them, but I think there should only be like 2. Because, yeah, there are ones with the safe icon, and the ones that are like super safe. But when you're trying to get vanilla Toontown with chat and nothing like this, there's like 4 or 5 options. They should have like 20 like they used to. I don't know the exact number that they had, but like Acrylic Acres and Pianissimo Plateau, you know, they took out a lot of districts, and I feel like that takes away a lot of... It may take away a lot more searching, but it gives you less options for what you can do in the game. So, I don't know. This is a long video. There's also something I kind of forgot to mention. For the recreation of this, when they add new modes for the CJ, there are certain factors like this is for the one where they wouldn't have 8 tiers, where just you'd have a choice for which difficulty you want. They should make it to where in that there are a lot of factors in that boss fight. There's the cog fight itself. Maybe you could increase the level of the cogs, make them version 2.0s, make it longer, something like that. Maybe they could add another boss fight. I don't think that would be necessary, but they could if they wanted to. They could give you less time in the jury round or the cannon round. They could make the scale start at a disadvantage point off the bat, even with seeding all the tunes. Maybe not giving you bonus weight. I think that would be important. That would actually make it very difficult. I don't think they need more gavels. They could add that. I don't think they need an 11 cogs, but if they wanted to mess with that, they could. That would change it stunning completely. Anything like that would go for making that more difficult. But I don't know. Yeah, if the TTR team would add these variations, I wouldn't even want a new boss fight. That would save them a lot of time developing, and I wouldn't have to. I don't know. I think that would go a longer way than just adding a new boss fight that people will max and never touch again. Overall, I'm pretty content with the game, but adding these would go a very long way. I've been playing this game for almost 13 years, and I don't know why I'm still playing. It's still fun to me. I haven't completely hit that wall, but with the 2 new tunes I made, and I don't know, you can only do the same thing so many times before you just quit. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to read them. I'd love to respond to them. I want to thank you all for watching. I know this was a longer one. I really appreciate it. But I hope you guys have a good one. I'm Wazzup, and I'm out.